I should explain that the format we're going to have here is we'll have 5 speakers who'll all talk for a bit. Then we'll actually have a panel if you want to do question and answers, but there won't be any, question and answers after each individual speaker. But we'll just get, various speakers to talk. Now, our second speaker is Grace Sands, who's going to be talking about the petition, which I think we've got here, haven't we? We've got the petition here for you to sign. The petition is to legalise medical cannabis, and the idea of this will be explained by Grace, but essentially it is just to get I'll encapsulate it in this way, which may be wrong, but the idea, as I understand it, is that it's very easy for the government to legalise medical cannabis. They just need to pass regulations. They don't need a vote in the House. But anyway, Grace is going to explain it all, and we have the petition here, and we'd like you all to sign it.
Thank you for having me, John. In May this year, our group delivered a proposal. We delivered a proposal to the Queensland Government, and the first stage of it is for interim measures to get in oils like for linseed, to get the imported oils in, to get immediate access to testing facilities, so that patients that are out there growing their own cannabis or buying it from the black market or from compassionate suppliers can have some peace of mind of what they're getting. So that can be done relatively easy with a change to a health regulation. At the moment, the regulation prohibits the health minister from granting Lene an approval for her to be able to treat Lindsay with his medicine. That's if it's imported through the Commonwealth. Lene has done everything legally possible to go through a lawful avenue through the TGA. They're holding it up, and the state government is also holding it up. She needs approval from both Commonwealth and state. So what we're asking at a state level is for Lene to be given an exemption from criminal prosecution, so that if the oils do come through the TGA, that she will be able to supply them to Lindsay without having to face criminal charges. So that's the first thing. Like I said, the other thing is for testing. The other part of our proposal is we want the patients and carers, or the patients, to come under their doctor. This is like a long term, and we haven't dictated illnesses that should be treated. Like, we're not doctors, we're patients and carers. So what we believe is that it should be between the doctor and the patient, the decision whether a patient uses cannabis. If they can benefit from it, we don't believe anyone should be left out. We don't believe that there should be a CBD-only policy. We believe that we need all forms of cannabis, whether it's herbal cannabis, whether it's tinctures, whether it's oils, edibles, fresh. We need a whole range, access to all of those. We don't want the state government or the federal government dictating our health. The other part of what we have got for long term is to put in, it's to start off slowly, but between the patient and the doctor is to have a cannabis treatment plan. We've given the government like a draft plan. I mean, this is how they run overseas, and it's basically for the patient to sit down with the doctor and let the doctor know what they're using. Unfortunately, our doctors You know, there's Dr. Catalaris here, but we need more doctors trained to know the benefits and to work with their patients. At the moment, the patients are training their doctors in this. So, yeah, so what this is an interim measure into how doctors are trained, that a patient can take in, be open with them. If they are benefiting, bring the science in with them. You know, if they've got it off the internet, have an open relationship with their doctor and be able to then apply to Queensland Health for approval to continue that treatment. But what the patient will have to do is fill in an informed consent, as cannabis has not been approved through the TGA or Queensland Health. So the patient is given the informed consent, and that's exactly what Lene has to do, even going through the legal avenue through the Commonwealth, to give her informed consent that she accepts all or any adverse reactions from the cannabis. She takes full responsibility for the treatment, and I think that's what we're all doing at the moment. We accept it how it is, but what we do need is some regulations. Why we have asked for this for the health regulation to change, there has been proposals for a change to the Drugs Misuse Act, but that would still keep the patients under the policing system. So we want the patients removed right out from that criminal system, under the health minister, under their doctors. There may be some patients will maybe have to get a criminal check. You know, we can't you know, preempt what Queensland Health might put in for guidelines, but we do have some samples here. If you'd like to go online on our website, it's a bit dodgy, Wix website, and our Facebook group, and you can access that proposal and read through it. What we would hope is that the government will have get more feedback from the public, from patients about this. And I guess that's it. We really need to come out and stop criminalising us. People need to get on with their lives. They need to be able to not have that stress, worrying about the police breaking their door in, taking their children off them. You know, it's hard enough dealing with some of these health conditions that we're dealing with without worrying about the police. The other thing is, there's a lot of people are good, law-abiding citizens. They're out there, they've treated themselves, they're coping. These laws affect their employment opportunities. It affects travel, getting a criminal record. It affects family relationships, education. Everywhere we go, you know, if we're treated like criminals, we want to be able to, you know, move beyond that. How it is overseas, people just want to just be left alone. The good news is I'm not sure whether Mike or Reardon from the Health Department will be able to tell you that we received a response back from our petition. It's the same petition, but we had an online petition. The Victorian Law Reform Commission have just released their report, and they are kind of stuck with a federal program because they've adopted the Therapeutic Goods Act. However, they have done a quite extensive report into the use of cannabis, and the Health Minister and people from the Health Department are going down there to liaise with them and to discuss a state program. So what we are trying to do is step up the process from, instead of waiting for the federal government to licence, even if they want to licence farmers, it has to come through the states. The states control cultivation. So what we want is a state program. And so we do have the interim measures to bring us out quickly from the criminal law under our doctors, but for a regulated market, long term, we can have that under instead of going under the Therapeutic Goods Act, which Queensland did not adopt, we can have a state program. We do not have to follow this line of being held up by the federal government. We could actually Queensland has its own Health Act, unlike the other states that adopted the Commonwealth laws. Queensland still has this very Health Act. I mean, it's still in use. So what can happen is how farmers could be licensed under it. The cultivators, we have research under it, we have the whole manufacturing. What they're talking about doing at a federal level, we can start doing at a state level now. All the other states, I mean, if you've been watching what's been going on, the hold-up with the trials, the hold-up in Victoria, Tasmania, all these states that have been having, inquiries and what have you, that is because they're tied to the Commonwealth law. They adopted the Therapeutic Goods Act into state law. Queensland hasn't, so we could actually have an extraction plant here in Queensland licensed and making regulated oils and tinctures. That could get even under an existing licence. Anyone doing herbal medicine, the extraction process, if anybody's familiar with that, we could have a state-based program for the oils. And I guess that's something that we've got to look at is instead of this going off to big corporations or overseas companies, whether we could have the opportunity as a state program to start looking at small communities being involved in this and not giving it all out to the money men, and we'd have more of a say in it. Just have a look. The State Health Act, it has everything in it for the product formulation. There's standards there. Testing, pesticides, labelling, packaging, advertising, everything that's basically in the Therapeutic Goods Act at Commonwealth law, we already have here in a state law. So we can get this moving very, very quickly, and people like Lene, our children won't have to be going through things like this. Patients like us, we don't need this. We don't have to wait and go out and try and buy medicine off drug dealers down the street, or even the compassionate suppliers. It's not fair asking compassionate suppliers to risk losing their homes. This is what a lot of them are risking, and a lot of them are not aware of it, but they are at risk of losing their homes. So we do need that kind of, we would just like to start at the bottom level, and the bottom level is the patients. At the ground level is the patients, not the business people. So I hope I've kind of got that part of it clear. And in the meantime, it's some interim measures to import these oils because they have been regulated, and it does work. What Lene is going through at the moment is it's an up and down process. The other thing is if she was given an exemption from prosecution and she could work with a compassionate supplier and have access to testing, she might be able to get the exact medication that Lindsay was on and start having that here. It's too complicated to go through the federal government. People have been waiting and waiting. There's a lot of us have been waiting decades for the federal government to do something. And, it's only this year. I've been trying to break these laws for decades. The drug laws and the health laws. We've been in and out of the courts, and finally this week, or last week rather, we put the Attorney General on notice. That actually, in effect, could have a ripple effect to put every Attorney General on notice in this state. So we're kind of really looking at, we're sick of them talking the talk fest after a talk fest. So if this is not going to move along very quickly, we're now kind of looking at the legal avenues to get this to court. So anyway, I'll cap it off there. Thank you very much for your patience on coming into this.